Welcome to Saints Happy Hour podcast. We never skip a drink day.
Budrich wants to know how the doctor's doing.
That ended.
Now grab a drink and enjoy the show.
All right, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Saints Happy Hour podcast. As always, we are brought to you by Hard Hide Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey. I got Kevin with me. We don't have Thomas because getting scheduling stuff tomorrow on the new normal day of recording. Me and Kevin do this, and he's not with us. So, Thomas, I apologize. We're doing it on Zoom. My camera's like tilted. I didn't set up the little snake that you ordered for me where I can mount it and all that. It's not set up. So Kevin played the role of Thomas and got me centered before the show. So give yourself a hand, Kevin.
I don't know how centered, you've already.
I've already scooted the wrong
veered
way
or something. So please don't call me Thomas. Because Thomas will hop on a plane for the first time in his life, fly over here, and choke both of us.
He's probably watching this video right now as he's editing it, and he's just cursing me in Polish in 9,000 different ways. We love you, Thomas. So here's what I want to talk about today, Kevin. They had the press conference with Kellen Moore yesterday, and it was fine. We didn't have any moments where he became a meme, right? We didn't have the Dan Campbell, I'm gonna bite a leg off. We didn't have that. We didn't have we didn't have any of that. We did have Gail calling him Elaine. I think she did. So that was weird, but Gail. But so it was fine. My thoughts on the press conference were the only thing that I thought was interesting. He was really nervous at the beginning of it. He had a really nervous energy. But besides that, it was fine. But Kevin, the main reason I want to talk today about Kellen Moore is this dude. I hope he succeeds and I hope he wins. And I'm not one of these Saints fans that being right is more important than the Saints winning. Just win some games, make the seasons fun. That's fine. That's all I want. But I have to say,
that dog won't hunt on Saints Twitter these days.
It is annoying that there's a big percentage of Saints Twitter. I feel like that if you offered them, the Saints can go 10-7 3 straight years, or they can be terrible, and every terrible prediction that you make will be correct. I think there's a large percentage of Saints people on social media, they'd be like, yeah, I rather be right about the Saints being a disaster than them being a marginal playoff team, which is annoying. But back to my original point that we want to discuss. Kellen Moore, youngest head coach in the NFL, 36. But Kevin, that makes me feel old as it is because I'm about to turn 49 in 3 weeks. So I already understand that I'm old, and once you cross the 50 mark, you're officially old, and you're not in the cool demographic. TV people don't care about you. Pop culture doesn't care about you. I get that I'm old, but dude, Kellen Moore, he hired Jim Haslett's son to be tight ends coach, who's looks exactly like Jim Haslett and is 31, 32. And I may be misremembering it, but I remember this kid hugging Jim Haslett on the sideline after the Saints won the first playoff game. And he was obviously it was 20 something years ago. So he was a literal child. So this makes me feel incredibly old, and I don't like it, Kevin. I don't like it.
So Chase Haslett sort of looks like his dad with a hat on and his head tilted to the side.
Mm-hmm.
Straight on, he kind of looks like, I'm looking at a photo of him looking straight ahead, and he looks like, and I want to make sure I've got the actor's name here on this. Let's see. I want to make sure I've got the show right. Mm-hmm. He looks like a combination of, and Tomas, if you can figure out a way to put these two pictures together, this guy plus this guy equals this guy. He looks like Brock Lesnar combined with actor Holt McCallany.
All right.
from the show Mindhunter. Holt McCallany is a that guy sort of actor. It's like if you've seen him, he's been in some David Fincher stuff. Like he was in Fight Club, and he was the guy who said, he's the first guy who said his name is Robert Paulson. 60 are going to understand that. But if you combine those two together, then you get
Chase Hazlitt.
Chase rocking the shaved head. I think that's a wise decision.
Yeah.
As somebody who did have a shaved head at one point, good call, young man. On the plus side, we get to call them young man now.
We do.
Like if you are more than 10 years older than somebody, you get to say young man this or young man that.
My thing is,
wait, you're 40.
I'll be 49.
Oh, you can call this. You can bust out all the Tommy Lee Jones stuff from Men in Black. You call him Sport, Chief, Bucko. You can bust all that out.
The thing that it's very strange. I didn't like when I was a kid for people to call me son, because my dad never called me son. So I hate it. So I never call when I talk to Max, I'm like, kid, I never call him son.
Yeah.
And I don't like I like them to call me Mr. Ralph. I don't like them to call me sir. And it's very strange. Like when a kid comes up in the playground and is like, Ralph, I'm like, show some respect. But if they call me sir, it makes me uncomfortable. It's very strange. It's
no. You have two options here. You either take whatever kind of respect the kid's going to show you.
No respect.
Which means they've either been told to say Mr. Ralph or to just say sir, or they just are going to call you Ralph or you or something. It's like,
man,
that's it. You got to just take. You got to just take that.
But am I correct? Like this coaching hire, I'm excited about him. I think he can.
Why? Okay. Why are you excited? Are you excited if this was Chase Jones?
No. I'm not talking about half. I'm talking about more. The more. Kevin. Here's the thing. With assistant coaches.
Yeah.
There's with 100. If you took 100 assistant hirings that the Saints have done over the years, maybe 3 of them, fans, their initial opinions would end up being correct. Most of the time, 97% of the time, we have no earthly idea about these freaking coaches. So I don't feel the need to pretend. The only one that when DA hired Grantham, I was like, that dude was a bad defensive coordinator. I don't know if he's a good defensive line coach. That one really worries me. I don't like it. And he ended up being a disaster. But that's the only assistant coach hiring that I have ever been I nailed that one. I don't pretend to know anything about these assistant coach hirings. But back to my point, I really feel old. This coaching hire has affected me mentally in a way I didn't expect. It makes me feel really old. And I didn't, before he got hired, I didn't feel so old. But now I'm like, God damn, I'm old. And he's hired all these people that used to be kids. And I don't like it, Kevin. I'm not ready to move into my old man phase of life.
Look, as dawn goes down today, nothing gold can stay, or whatever it was that Robert Frost said. When we were playing Tecmo Bowl, it was, okay, I got this, it's like, oh, Frank Warren doing this and that. Oh, Steve Weatherford, blah, blah, blah. And then one by one, this guy's no longer playing. This guy's no longer playing.
Yeah.
And then there was a big deal when the final guy who was in Tecmo Bowl, which I have to believe was a punter, finally retired. It was, okay, everybody who was ever in Tecmo Bowl is now no longer playing the game or playing in the sport.
Yeah.
And it's it's one of those things.
Yeah.
Just like as you reach a certain age, once you hit your 30s or somewhere in your 30s, you just kind of say to yourself, oh, I'm too old to ever get signed to play this sport. ever realistically play this sport. Not that you ever had the talent to do it, but I'm now out of whatever range they would consider signing somebody. And then you look at it, next thing you know, the starting lineup, the starting pitchers for some team you follow, they're all younger than me. The oldest, I'm the age of the crafty veteran that they've signed, who is now the fourth or fifth guy whose ERA is like a 5 whatever, but he throws a couple of tricky pitches.
Does our age, the fact that Kellen Moore's 36 and he's hired a dude who's like 33 and all these young dudes on this staff probably, does it affect your Saints fandom? Not in like a negative or a positive way, just in a different, I feel like it does. Like it makes me feel old.
It doesn't affect me in the slightest.
Really?
I never felt, I guess maybe getting old, like the getting old stuff doesn't bother me. Getting old doesn't bother me. I don't think about getting old. Like I see the gray, I'll see gray hairs in the mirror. I got one curly hair in particular in the front of my beard that is silver. I got a couple of silvers in here that you don't really see, but when I get a haircut, it looks like somebody just dumped a salt and pepper shaker out, and I find it hilarious. I think it's charming in some way. The thing I think about though is death itself, not the getting old. It's the sudden end of the journey that confounds me still.
It does. It is.
But seeing younger coaches or younger players, that's never bothered me. Like it
doesn't bother me. It just affects my fandom in a different way. It's like the Saints Super Bowl is now 15 years ago, right?
Yeah.
So like if you're like less than 25 years old, you really don't have like a recollection of like.
I think if you are 21. I think if you're 21 or younger, maybe even 22 or younger, your memories of the Super Bowl, if you have memory, they could be shaky.
Yeah. What do you think the Saints, I think the young coaching staff is potentially exactly what they need. They needed to break away from the Sean Payton, and like they did it. Like everybody's like, "Oh, Mickey Loomis, he only hires who he knows." Like they broke away from it completely, right? So I think it's potentially good. But Kevin, I will also say, I do believe that when you go youngest coach in the NFL, and you do have the potential for a disaster. Like the Bengals a long time ago, people don't remember this because it's probably the late 90s, early 2000s. They hired David Shula.
David Shula?
Was it David Shula or Mike? I think it was David Shula.
No, wait, was it? No, I think Mike Shula was
Mike Shula was the Alabama coach, but Dave Shula was the Bengals coach, and he was the coach of the Bengals in 1992, and he was super young, and it was a disaster. Because he was age 32 when they hired him in 1992, and it was an abject disaster. Now, granted, that was the Bengals. The Bengals have a history of being a disaster.
No, you're right. It was David Shula because I'm just looking up I'm just now looking up the youngest coaches in NFL history.
Yeah, it's him. So, but my point is, yes, you can make the caveats. It's the Bengals, and the Bengals have a history of going off the rails and being a disaster. But he was 19-52 with the Bengals, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just saying.
But Kellen Moore is the youngest coach in the league now.
Now he's not the youngest coach.
Like
ever.
I'm looking at like the youngest coaches ever. I want to see if anybody gets lower. Wow. Although you got to go way far back for that. All right, that one makes sense. And then so
McVay,
youngest
maybe?
coach, the youngest coaches. I've got the top 8.
Give me the top 3. We don't have time for 8. Give me the top 5.
Well, okay, shit. So your top 5 is Raheem Morris, who was hired at 32.
Okay.
John Michelson, who was hired at 32 by the Pittsburgh Steelers.
That must have been like.
Yeah, he coached from 48 to 51.
Okay.
Record of 20, 26, and 2.
Okay.
Grew up in a Pennsylvania suburb.
Right.
Harlan Svar,
That's a cool name. What? How old was he?
31 years old. Played for the Rams and then coached them. Yeah, coached the Rams and then coached the Giants in the 50s, I guess.
Okay. Who else?
Oh, I'm sorry. No. He coached the Chargers.
Okay.
Coached the Chargers. Lane Kiffin, 31.
Oh, I forgot about Lane Kiffin with the Raiders. Remember Al Davis with the bandage on his head and the overhead projector when he fired him? Oh yeah, I forgot about Lane
5
Kiffin.
and 15.
Woo.
And then Sean McVay, who was hired at age 30.
I mean, I'm just saying,
That to me is nuts. That is nuts. Hiring somebody who is 30.
I mean, that is. I mean, listen, it has the potential to go off the rails, but on the whole, Kevin, because we haven't gotten your thoughts on it. On the whole, I like the fact that the Saints kind of, I don't know, went out of their comfort zone a little. I think the comfortable hire would have been Mike McCarthy, right? Successful, but a retread. Or even Rizzy, who I like. It would have been comfortable, right? We know him. He clogs toilets. But with Kellen Moore, they went out of their comfort zone. And do you think, even though it might be dork energy, because Kellen Moore, let's be real, he looks like a dork.
Right.
I can say this. Look at me, people. I look like a dork. I know what a dork looks like. He looks like a dork. But will the Saints, should they embrace the dorkness? Be the dork team. Be the nerd team. Would that be a good idea?
Look, if they want to embrace analytics a little more and have somebody on that team that's going to say, hey, here's when, the odds say going for 2 more often than not is better than just taking the extra point. Going forward on 4th down and going forward on 4th and 3 when we're inside our own 40. Is worthwhile, or going forward on 4th and 1.
They might hire the go for it on 4th down king, Brandon Staley. If he'll be defensive coordinator.
Well, right, but he'll be handling defense. If he wants to handle defense, fine. You handle defense, and you let the youngest looking big brother in Kellen Moore handle.
By the way, Brandon Staley, he looks like a dude who. His head doesn't, his head's on the wrong body. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Thomas, put that picture up. Maybe.
His head looks like you lasso tooled around it and then you increased it by about 15% and then left it there.
Yeah. It's not like a giant head on a
no. His neck is very tall and slender.
Yeah, it looks weird. Looks weird.
You know who he kind of looks like? He kind of looks like Bill Hader.
Oh, he kind of does.
It's a little like Bill Hader straight ahead.
Dude, if he could have done impressions, he'd probably still be the Chargers coach.
Yeah.
The thing with Kellen Moore, and here's the interesting thing. I feel this with the the energy from the fans. If Kellen Moore ends up being a loser, we will find things that annoy us about him. We'll discover them,
right?
If he's a loser. But I do feel like, besides like the super negative people that are always going to be negative on Saints Twitter or in your life and they're Saints fans, those people, besides those people, I do feel like Kellen Moore, he comes with a clean slate that DA never had. Like DA never had the cleans. He had that Raiders stink on him. And whether you wanted to wish it away, make excuses for it like I did or some other people did, like it was always there from day one. And Kellen Moore doesn't have that. And I think that's a positive. That's a really positive thing for the fan base that allows to come. Or you don't think that's a big deal? Like we'll be hating Kellen Moore soon enough.
I mean, honestly, I'm still looking at Brandon Staley, and I'm like, my God, man, I don't know, man. This could be a bad hire. Like this is that's either a bad hire or Kellen Moore has found his fall guy. That he'll give the boot to after the 1 year, because Kellen Moore's defenses have left a lot to be desired.
Yes.
And coming to a team that has a lot of holes on defense and has a lot of needs. It's insert that gif of Mike Ehrmantraut or whatever his name is from Breaking Bad.
I know they can't hire him because they just fired him. But I would really like the Saints on defense to hire a Dennis Allen. Like, say what you want about Dennis Allen, right, as a head coach. But the Bears fans can look at him and be like, he was defensive coordinator for the Saints. He ran their defense from 2015 to 2024. That's like 9 years of defense. And except at the very beginning and the very end, it was really, really, really good. And like, if you hire Brandon Staley, like he said, his track record, he had one good year with the Rams on defense. That got him a head coaching job. Or you hire a young guy who has never been a coordinator. Like, to me, you're risking a lot on the side of the ball that's bad. I would like kind of a grizzled old guy, like a Vic Fangio. Like, he'd been around the block.
Find a guy who's like 58. Find somebody who's pushing 60, who knows he is not head coaching material.
Yeah.
But he's like, look, I'm a defensive guy. People know they can, I can come in here and do whatever and coach up guy. I can get more, I can put 10 gallons of shit in a 5-pound hat or whatever, whatever the expression is. I can get the most out of a little, yada, yada, yada. You give me some stuff to work with. I can excel at that. Get that guy, find that guy and put him with the young guy. And just like, just that way, there's no threat. It's just a stalwart kind of guy who can occasionally, who Kellen Moore can occasionally just bounce some ideas off of and just get some feedback. I don't know, somebody like that. But where were we going here? We're
just talking about the coaching staff and how. At the beginning of it, we talked about how it made me feel.
Is Rizzy gonna?
Rizzy's going to Denver.
Okay,
Rizzy's going to Denver. Although I will say, like, I was on Rizzy Island, and listen. If it had fallen through with Moore, like Rizzy was the guy, Rizzy was the second choice. Like, if it had fallen through with Moore, we'd be learning to Riz right about now. Which I think Moore is a better choice. I think for fan, because I think even though Rizzy didn't have the stink of being a head coach before, he had the Dennis Allen. It's still the loser feel. Like he would have had that weight with him. Now we can go.
Yeah, it's a clean break now.
It's a clean break. there's so much to break down. The interesting thing with his press conference is people compared what Kellen Moore said about Derek Carr to what Sean Payton said about Aaron Brooks. And by the way, on the day the Saints hired Sean Payton, they released Aaron Brooks, I believe. Or it was the day maybe it was the day they signed Drew.
Hang on.
But either way, like Sean Payton, like didn't even mention him by name, and you could be like, yeah, he's gone. I feel like Kellen Moore, I feel like Derek Carr is not going to be a Saint. Like he wasn't. He said nice things about Derek Carr, but I just feel like if Derek Carr was going to be his guy, he would have said it at the press conference. Like to leave the door open means he's breaking up with Derek Carr. Do you think?
I don't know, man. Like, I think the Juge seems to think that Moore is out on Carr.
Yeah.
And look, I know that's going to be tough for some folks to hear and to actually understand, because in their mind, Juge is the Dunkin' Donuts guy. Time to make the donuts. Time to glaze Derek Carr. But Juge does not. Juge's thought. This is not a source thing with him. He's not making.
I wish he was here.
Up.
I wish he was here because then he could speak for himself.
But, but then you get me to speak for him, and right. I can antagonize people poke at the bear that is the Saints Twitter intelligentsia that seems to think Juge is, that Juge or you or Dave are writing love notes, or you're going to leave those little hard mini goddamn heart candies by Derek Carr's door in Fresno tomorrow, or on Valentine's Day. Like nobody just wants to understand basic sense. But I'm getting back around. Juge is under the impression that Kellen Moore is out on Carr. So for all of you who would wish 5 years off your own children's lives to see Derek Carr gone, Juge seems to think you will get your wish based off of this.
I think, and I just think it's interesting that, for Kellen Moore to sell himself to the Saints, and it was they didn't go in with any preconceived notions about this coaching hire, and clearly they didn't because they hired Kellen Moore. But if you're going to sell yourself and your vision to an NFL team about why they should hire you and why you can get them to championships and get them winning, I don't think your pitch can be, I'm cool with Derek Carr for a year. I think Kellen Moore, his pitch was probably either, I can win with Derek Carr, my offense will work, he's a perfect fit, we can win with him, my offense will make it better, we'll get the defense on the right path, we'll be going, or I can't win with Derek Carr. Do you want to win a championship? You ain't winning with a championship with Derek Carr. We got to get him out of here. And
is it possible? Is it possible? And this is a question for you or for anybody. Is it possible for Kellen Moore or any NFL or any candidate to say, listen, I know, like to come in and just have a heaping dose of reality. Listen. This guy's contract is for X, Y, and Z. It makes sense to either cut him after this date or roll with him for a year and see what's what and then get rid of him.
Mm-hmm.
So hey, bring him in or keep him. We roll. We see what he does in my offense, and I give him a shake. I give him a chance with this new offense. And if we don't do well or whatever, then we cut bait and it's no skin. It's no skin. But then this is the 4D chess part of my brain. Does a new coach does a brand new coach, like still got that new car smell, does a new coach say, am I going to waste or run my one, house money year with a quarterback that I don't know I'm going to want in the following year?
That's right. Because that's a great point, because the house money year, do you want Derek Carr to sort of give you stability?
Right.
Maybe not with wins, but like with Derek Carr, your offense will be functional. If you're healthy, it might be pretty good, right? And even if you win 4 or 5 games, which I think is very possible because I think the defense is going to be horrible. Like, even if you win 4 or 5 games, you had Derek Carr and you're like, okay, the year was terrible. We don't know about Derek Carr. We may get rid of him, but our offense was 11th. And like that can show,
right?
Hey, I'm Kellen Moore.
Right.
You hired me as an offensive guy. Your offense went from 21st to 11th.
It's not Derek Carr that lost you. It's not Derek Carr that lost you the games.
It's other stuff.
You can point to other things. Okay, it's Derek Carr. Like, yeah, Derek Carr didn't run out and snatch games by the throat and didn't win. What's the thing Bomani Jones says? He's like, he's not the reason you lost, but he's also not the reason you won.
Right. And here's the thing. Is that valuable? Or is it we're ripping the Band-Aid off, we're going to go 2-15, we're going to have Spencer Rattler and a rookie or a trash pile quarterback out of the dumpster, or Justin Fields or whoever, and we're going to be terrible? Because I just think you can say what you want. And this is the thing. I think fans, Kevin, I think we lie to ourselves.
Of course we do.
We say, "Oh, I'm fine with rebuild. I'm fine with rebuilding. It's perfectly fine. I'm ready to be terrible. It's 1 year. You gotta suffer to be great. If you want to be better, you got to go backwards." And we say that. But then after you go 2-15 and you average 13 points a game, you're like, I ain't doing this again. So does Kellen Moore, by ripping the Band-Aid off and moving on from Carr, does he ramp up the pressure even more into year 2? Because I'm telling you, Kevin, I don't give a damn what the Saints say. I don't give a damn what the fans say. You go 3-14, 3-14 the first 2 years, there's a very good chance you are not surviving year 3 in its entirety if you don't start out good. No matter how much you claim for patience and all that stuff. So I just wonder, like, the Derek Carr decision, I think it's more layered than people want to admit as I drift.
Oh, wait a minute. Are you saying are you saying decisions of importance are not when money is involved, when all these other little machinations are involved, you're saying it's not as simple as black and white, that it's shades of gray, Ralph? You're saying that you have to actually take evidence and things and weigh them out against one another, that you can't just decide, oh, this guy took a photo with a flak vest on and I think he votes a certain way, therefore I'm not going to like him, or, oh, he went for a scramble to try and get a first down, and I think that was stupid of him, so therefore he's an idiot and everything he's ever done is bad. Or he didn't hang out in the city, that doesn't like him anyway, but he didn't hang out in the city during the Super Bowl, so therefore that's a giant red flag.
See, though, I think that's more nonsense about fans, Kevin, because here's the thing. If Derek Carr had been in the front row of the press conference for Kellen Moore, if he had been in the front row, dressed in a nice suit, maybe he had a bag of Chipotle, waiting for Kellen Moore after the press conference. If he'd have been at the press conference, you know what people would have said? He's sucking up to keep his job.
Right.
He's just there sucking up to the new coach so he can make his $40 million. He's a jerk.
Right.
That's what
Right.
they say. But he's gone.
Right.
So they're like, he
there'd
didn't
been
show up at the
photos of
press.
him and Derek Carr. You'd see people on Twitter. Can somebody crop Derek Carr out?
That's right.
He's ruining he's ruining Kellen Moore's first day at the facility. Blah blah blah. It's Derek Carr derangement syndrome.
It is. It's completely. It's like it doesn't matter what he does. We're just going to spin it negatively,
Right?
Because we hate him. We hate him. So,
but then you were talking like spinning that into the expectations for the next year. You've come out and said, hey, if Kellen Moore, if we get this and this, and Kellen Moore is able to, if the Saints get 4 or 5 wins, I can roll with that. We get this and that, and people responding to you like, oh, 4 wins, 5 wins, that's terrible. I wouldn't stand for that. That's unacceptable. It's like, do none of these people have can they not add 2 and 2 together? Or is that the extent of their mathematic understanding? Do they not understand long division? Do they not see a vision? Do they not see beyond their own hand?
I will say this, Kevin, in a moment of total honesty, circle of trust. One reason for me, whatever Kellen Moore wants to do with Derek Carr is fine. But one reason why I hesitate to get rid of him is because here's the thing. The Saints, without Derek Carr as their quarterback in 2025.
I mean, they won all their games without Derek Carr, right? Like Spencer Rattler, the agenda, the snake man.
0-7 without Derek Carr, and abomination.
Really?
They were a bottom 3 team. I'm going to say this. If the Saints don't have Derek Carr at quarterback in 2025, not only will they be the favorite to pick first in the 2026 draft, I'm just telling you, we are going to experience probably the worst Saints team we have experienced in a generation, probably since the 99 Ditka team, if we pretend Katrina didn't happen, which was a 3-win team. It might be 1980 Saints bad, 1-15. They will be that atrocious. And for me, Kevin, personally, I don't want to watch a Saints team that is a 1 to a 3-win team. I don't want to experience that. That's not fun for me for 17 weeks. And I don't care about, it's going to lead to something better in the future. Is it? Are you sure? You don't, no promises. So that's me selfishly not wanting to watch that.
But didn't you say you would watch a Saints team that wins 4 or 5 games?
Well, I just think there's a big difference between 5-12 and 1-16. And I don't care what people say. They're like, it's not playoffs, so who cares? And the difference between 5 wins and 1 win. There is a level of football, I don't know what competency or decency. Like, if you're a 5-win team, you go into the Sunday and you're like, yes, like this year, we're like, yes, we're bad. We're terrible. We aren't going to win. But you know what? We just fired Dennis Allen. And we got Rizzy. We'll get the Rizzy bounce. And like they beat the Falcons and they beat the Browns and they were competitive against the Rams, right? And they had all these games where they competitive. That is like 5-12 bad. 1-16, 2-15 bad. That, Kevin, it's October 10th and you're doing mock drafts because the Saints haven't scored 17 points yet in a game, and they're losing by an average of 20. Like, that's the difference. And for me, selfishly, we do this podcast. I want it to be fun. I at least want it to be interesting. If they're not winning, like getting their head kicked in repeatedly over and over again because they're incompetent at quarterback, like that doesn't interest me because there's some promise of heaven on the other side of this,
right?
I'm like Andy. It's like Andy Dufresne walking through 3 football fields of crap, but like there's no promise that he's going to get out. Right.
Well, it's the it's not the destination, it's the journey. Well, your destination is the first overall pick or the second overall pick. Well, let me tell you, the journey getting there is going to be excruciating. The journey to get there will be excruciating. You put an unproven, shaky, not even a rookie. I mean, you know, maybe they draft a rookie or whatever and throw him behind there because maybe they don't like Rattler either, or they either put Rattler back there. I don't know, but they get one of them guys. They haven't figured out that, you know, maybe they don't figure out the offensive line just yet. They don't, you know, they decide this or like you can think there are so many holes with this team. You can think of several different types of permutations in which there's not enough done to fix things. The only major thing that's happened is they've booted Carr.
That's right.
And that by itself just completely, like, you have let go of this. You have let go of the wheel.
That's a great way to put it.
And let me tell you something. Jesus ain't coming to take it. Right. Jesus looks at that. And it's the Neil deGrasse Tyson gif of, nope. Yeah. Not Jesus won't touch that wheel. Okay, pal? He will not. This team, look, it ain't like Derek Carr would be the finest quarterback. It's not like he's been the finest quarterback regardless. But there is a level, a base level of competency that you aren't getting elsewhere, or that you wouldn't get elsewhere.
Yeah, and I think
that's it. That's all we're saying.
That's all we're saying.
That's all we're saying.
And I'm just saying to Saints fans, especially you new ones, we love you. You jumped on board in 2006 post Katrina. You've been with us the whole way. We love you. You know, not everybody can be an old man and have random Saints facts from 1984 in their brain. I understand that. But all I'm saying to you is you think you're ready to watch a football abomination because you hate Derek Carr, and you think, oh, I'm ready to suffer. I'm ready to do it. You're wrong. It's horrible. It's no fun. It's 18 weeks of misery. And I'm just telling you, you may get what you want with no Derek Carr, but it's potentially horrific. And it's no fun to be the worst team in the NFL, to have people making fun of you, to say bring back the bags, and to have no hope. And you think, right, we'll get Arch Manning, but suddenly Arch Manning's like, you know what? I'm going back to UT. And I'm not coming out in 2020. I'm not coming out for the 2026 draft. I'm going back to UT. I'm going to make $7 million, hang out in Austin because it's cool.
Right. I'm going to hang out in Austin, Texas with the co-eds and basically be a god in the city of Austin.
Yeah. And by the way, that number one pick you have, the other quarterbacks, they ended up not looking as good or getting hurt or whatever. And by the way, now you're picking number one and you're going to pick a D end. And your quarterback's still a trophy. So, like, I just, as an old man, to bring it, as you would say, Kevin, all the way back around.
Right.
As an old man that's seen some things, don't willingly jump into the sewer.
Yeah.
Okay. This podcast, Thomas, we apologize. It was meandering. I feel like,
brother, that's listen.
It's us. But I loved it. This was a great episode. I feel like the Derek Carr discussion was incredible.
We just talk. We come in with like a thing, and it's like you can't go with when it's me and you. There is no
through line.
There is no true north. There is no true north. We move around, we navigate this and that. And then we get to where we got to go.
Before we get out of here, I want to remind the people. Click on the link to celebrate the new era of Saints football with Kellen Moore. Hard Hide Ponchatoula Strawberry Whiskey is giving away 75 subscriptions to Saints Happy Hour on Patreon, 2 months for free. Click on the link. No obligation. It's from Hard Hide. They're covering it. You sign up for 2 months. You get all our content for 2 months. You get access to our Discord. Try us out for 2 months. You'll love it. I promise you. do it. So for Kevin, for Thomas, he's back in Poland. He's not actually watching us now, but he's editing this and he's yelling at me, cursing at me because I've drifted further and further right as this episode has gone on. Kevin, I can see it. I apologize, Thomas. I'm sorry. I'll get the camera mounted. Say mean things to me in Poland. So for Kevin, for Thomas editing this later, I'm Ralph. Thanks for joining us. Until next time, the bar is closed.